formation. So also Vedana and Sanya, perception, these two are the very nuclear, they form the nucleus for the formation of the mind. And once you know and you have some handle over your feeling, you have complete handle over your perception, which is the very, primary state of knowledge. So now this Vedana, which is like a river, is flowing all the time. You can't avoid it. It's with you all the time, 24 hours. It's only when we die that we don't feel. Just as when we die that we don't breathe. This is the reality. And this breathing process is a changing process all the time. You breathe in, straight away you breathe out, and then again you breathe a new volume of air. It goes on like a cycle, on and on and on, endless. Similarly with Vedana, the same thing happens with feeling. And this feeling arises from where? It arises from Hasso, that is, contact between the senses. Now we have the 5 senses, bodily, physical senses, and the one mental, mind as the sense itself. These six senses are like doors. The consciousness based on these senses, located on these senses, and the object of the consciousness, say, for seeing, if you have an eye, you have an eye consciousness, and the opposite of that, the external counterpart is visible object. For ear or ear consciousness, it is sound. For nose, it is smell. For tongue, it is taste. For body, it is a bodily impression, touch and tactile experience. And then for the mind is mental impression. When these three meet, that is the sense organ and the consciousness based on the sense organ and the object of the sense organ or consciousness, when these three elements meet, that is they interact, when you see an object, that is where a contact has occurred. The very basic contact, seeing an object. At that time, the seeing consciousness is a very, very subtle consciousness. At the subconscious level it works. You are not aware of it. But the moment what you see and you like it, there you are caught in the net of tanha. You see something nice and you want to have it. You want to experience it. You want to enjoy it. That is where the feeling has arisen based upon this interaction of sense and the sense object. So now when this feeling has arisen, unless you control it and you have you put in place a certain controlling mechanism, then that feeling will give rise to, tanha or craving, and then you are caught in the net of craving. Keep on, based upon craving, there arises attachment, clinging. Based upon clinging, there arises the karmic process, bodily, verbal or mental activities. So there you are, craving leads to all karmas. Karma leads to punarjanma. Again and again you die, again and again you are reborn. And ad infinitum, there is no end to the samsara chakra, this wheel of existence, recurring existence. So Bhagavan Buddha, by discovering the ultimate reality and by formulating the reality in the form of the Four Noble Truths, has opened up the path to get out of this wheel of samsaric existence. And there is no place for speculative thinking or speculative dogma and these beliefs and all that. No. Direct experience of reality, and that starts with experiencing your own feelings. Now I'll give you a small little story to make clear how this controlling mechanism can be created and put in place on the feelings. Number one, see, a river was known as a river of sorrow. Always it brought flood every year, like our Kosi flood in North Bihar. Like the Yangtze River in China, it's known as river of sorrow. Even our Kosi is known as river as sorrow. Nadi ka dukh ka nadi, shok ka nadi, bhay ka nadi. That is what they say there. So now this one man who suffered from this year after year, he had a brainstorm somehow. That is some kind of wisdom arose. He says, this very source of pain must be also a source of happiness. How to do that? He came in contact with some bhikkhu there who was living nearby in his cottage. He used to come and go for Pindapata. He says, Bhante, look at this every year, suffering like this year after year. How to get out of this? He was a very good meditating monk. He said, look here, yattha dukkhang uppajjati tattha sukhang uppajjati. Where there arises suffering, it is only there that suffering can cease and happiness can arise. So he said, oh, it's a principle, yes. That means where the Kosi making hell, flood, it is there the solution for the flood lies. Okay, I will do one thing. He had a piece of land which got inundated because the bank broke down, completely swept away by the flood. So he got hold of some of his brother farmers and others, and all of them got, busy and raised up a very nice, strong bank where it had breached. He joined up the bank fully, but before joining, he put a sluice gate right at the bottom, at the base of the bank, and there he put in place a device which allows the water to an outflow, but stop where the water is too much. So the flow of the water itself is so controlled that only a measure of water can get in. That's called sluice gate, a controlling sort of device which controls the flow of water. Then he raised banks on all the three sides. He went about 500 yards left and right. He put in, along with his farmer friends and village friends, a big bank, and then on three sides, and it became a tank, a reservoir tank. So he built, because the land was, still very wet, and he could dig out very easily and put a very fine bank with stones and all that sort of thing. They worked for days and days and weeks and months, and they reached a very strong bank indeed, all the three sides, and formed a reservoir. Then they put in place, in the middle of the bank on all the three sides, another outlet, or a sluice gate-like outlet. And then this control mechanism. So, or the controlling mechanism. So when the next rain started, my goodness, the water started flowing in, and soon that became a huge reservoir. And when it came to the top at a certain level, that level itself closed the sluice gate, and no water could get in. But if he wanted, he could let out the water on any of the three sides. Once that happened, this very river became the river of prosperity. At least 50 villages on all sides got, controlled water through a little, they dug up canals and nalas and had an irrigation system built all around for 50 villages. And those 50 villages became the source of, prosperity in that whole district. Now, this is the path to freedom. The Buddha said, there is only one taste of this Dhamma, the taste of freedom. Dhammassa ekameva rasam, vimutti rasam. The taste of freedom. That which brings suffering, that very thing, if properly managed, can bring happiness. And how to do that? That is where the controlling mechanism on your feelings must be put in place. How to do that is the subject of this, Vedananupasana as a series we have undertaken. Meanwhile, some functions we had here, so we stopped. We had a, break in this series. We'll resume that from next week. May the grace of Bhagavan Buddha surround your lives with well-being and wisdom. May Dhamma get into you, my dear. Turn dukkha into sukha. May you all be happy. Sukhino bhavantu.